To help us understand the stays of the Trump executive order issued by federal judges, I'm joined here in the studio by Anthony Romero, executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU argued successfully for the stay in Brooklyn federal court last night. What are the multiple central challenges that you have to the executive order?
Well, there are a number. For us, the executive order really does break down into four parts. First, it puts a moratorium on all refugees coming to this country for 120 days. It tolls the number of Syrian refugees who can be resettled here. Third component, looking at a ban for 90 days or more of individuals coming from 7 predominantly Muslim countries. And then fourth, and probably most notably, it carves out exceptions for religious minorities from those 7 countries. So taken together, we think that those 4 aspects of the executive order violate due process rights, equal protection rights, the First Amendment rights of individuals vis-a-vis the government. The government is not supposed to either favor or discriminate against any religion. Violations of domestic statutes, the Immigration Nationality Act, the Administrative Procedures Act. We think there even implicates some international treaties, including the Convention Against Torture and the Conventions Protecting Refugees.
You know, people are saying, listen, the word Muslim, Islam, Christianity aren't in this executive order. Is it fair to call this a Muslim ban?
Absolutely.
How?
It's crystal clear. The 7 countries they picked, predominantly Muslim countries, the carving out for minority religions, where President Trump contemporaneously with signing the order talked on Christian broadcast radio, the fact that he wanted to protect Christians. It's clearly a Muslim ban. It's clearly meant to target certain Muslim countries. It doesn't go after the Saudis. It doesn't go after other Gulf Arab countries. And yet it's clear that this is making good on Donald Trump's promise to target and to ban Muslims.
And that's part of the administration's claim. It said, listen, we didn't go after all Muslim countries. There are 40-something other countries that are majority Muslim that are not on this list. So how can you say that we're discriminating against an entire religion?
Well, it's really clear that these 7, for instance, implicate countries with large Muslim populations. The countries that are not on the list, that's a question better put to the Trump administration. Why not the Saudis, for instance? In fact, most of the 9/11 attackers were of Saudi descent or Saudi origin.
Tell me about how this is going to reconcile. We've got a decision in Brooklyn, we've got a decision in Boston, we've got maybe another one in Arlington or in Virginia. Well, so what happens? Basically, is there a reconciliation process? Does this have to get appealed to go to the Supreme Court?
And there is also, from what I understand, cases in Seattle, Washington, as of this morning. The case in Brooklyn, the one we filed on late last night, and then the early yesterday morning, and then the judge ruled late last night, is a class action suit. It covers all individuals who are banned entry into this country because of the Trump executive order. So we think that will be the primary vehicle by which the courts adjudicate the constitutionality, the legality of the executive order. They ultimately may be consolidated, depends on how far which judge gets out in front. That all will be determined in the course of the next several weeks.
And what happens to the Supreme Court justice that President Trump will have an ability to nominate this week? Could that be the tie-breaking vote if this has to go to the Supreme Court?
Could play an important role. And we're a long way away from the Supreme Court. I mean, obviously, it's at the federal district court level. It could possibly be appealed to the Court of Appeals, and then ultimately, it is the type of case that it would ultimately come before the Supreme Court. But I'm hopeful. I think that even with the conservative majority of the Supreme Court, many of the justices who don't often vote with us on racial justice cases will vote with us on First Amendment cases.
Anthony Romero, Executive Director of the American Civil Liberties Union, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.